Hi, Call.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
Good, very good.
Good.
So I want to thank you for the opportunity to do another Kaslo sort of update and touch base with us. I have a few things that I wanted to just mention, general issues that have come up, and then certainly I know you maybe have a few questions for us after. But the first issue that I did want to just sort of touch base on is sort of some of the scams or frauds that have been maybe popping up and could be tempting some of the people in our community here lately, that as of late, that we've had reported to us. So I thought maybe I would just address scams in general, but we've recently had sort of an increased number of people who have called in and they've said, there's two types really. There's one, they're saying, you know, somebody's calling my house and they've told me that I'm a winner of a prize or I've won a holiday somewhere.
Yeah.
And of course they're asking for different things, anywhere in between credit card numbers to secure different hotel locations. And so we again want to just inform people that if somebody calls you up and tells you that you're the winner of a prize, please, it's probably too good to be true. Err on the side of caution. If you're the winner of a prize, you shouldn't have to give any personal information about yourselves. You should have probably had some recollection of being legitimate recollection of being a participant in a contest.
Right.
You know, maybe you fill out an entry waiver in a grocery store or something like that. So when it comes to telemarketing and when it comes to scams over the telephone, I would just urge people to always err on the side of caution, because there are more scams really out there these days than there are legitimate operations. Another one that we're getting, of course, is a lot of these people who receive letters, and there's a term for it, they're called Nigerian letter scams, and what they are typically are these people that mail you letters from, they claim to be from African countries. They're asking for donations. They're asking for your personal credit card information to help. And some of them are quite shoddy. Others appear to be very professionally done. Again, the problem from a policing perspective is when we get these types of people who come in and say, I've just given someone my credit card or access to my personal information, I'm out thousands of dollars now. These people usually have originated this fraud from outside of the country. And so our hands are tied. We can initiate a criminal investigation, but we can't proceed with criminal charges under the Criminal Code of Canada against someone who's trying to scam you from, say for example, West Africa or Nigeria. So understanding that there are a lot of organizations out there, charitable organizations that do a lot of marketing over the telephone, I would encourage people, if you're going to be generous with your money, to go out, do the research on the internet, or you can call the RCMP if you have any questions, and we can often provide you with our opinions. But don't just give away your personal information, your credit cards or anything to anyone. Okay, this is your personal information, and identity theft is becoming an increasingly, it happens more often than not these days. This is the new era of crime, and so people pretend to be you. They get a hold of your information, your address, telephone number, social insurance number, credit cards, and the potential is to ruin somebody's life financially. And you know, people spend years and years to save up even $20,000-$30,000, and oftentimes they become victims trying to do something good.
Right. And
it really is a tough crime to have to investigate. So they are rising in our community, but we just need to be vigilant. On that note, I also want to talk a little bit about debit card fraud. Now, debit card fraud is the fastest increasing fraud we have in British Columbia. With a Visa, Visa card fraud can happen with your number, but obviously with the debit card fraud, people feel more secure, because they say, well, if someone was to get a hold of my debit card, they wouldn't have necessarily my PIN. So what is happening now on several occasions is that there's actually a false fake debit machine that gets placed into these businesses. And a lot of these businesses, they're not even aware that the machine is false. They can be little scanners that are placed on the machine, and the owner may not even know that they're there. So what it can do is, you can come to, say, a convenience store, you give them your debit card to pay for the items you've selected. They scan your debit card into a fake machine, okay? You are handed a control that's asked for all your information, and you input that information, okay? And it goes into a storage device inside that data machine. So now it has your checking or savings account, the PIN number that you've provided, and the digital or the magnetic strip information on your card. What they do with that is they take that information and they'll go and buy all these gift cards off the shelves that are blank, and they'll just rewrite it. So now I have potentially some Joe Blow coffee gift card. They've put your magnetic information onto it, and they've scanned that about 10 times on 10 different cards. And in a matter of 2 days, you could have the maximum withdrawn from your debit account.
Right.
And you're going to go in there and say, well, I have my card. I haven't given my PIN to anyone. And the bank's going to say to you, well, it's your responsibility to look after your PIN. So what I would recommend to people is, when you use debit cards, first and foremost, that can cut your chances in half is to cover your PIN when you're entering it. Because in addition to a false machine, sometimes it's a real machine. They just scan your card, and then there's a tiny little camera somewhere that's monitoring your PIN. So to hide your PIN is not, you're not offending the clerk that you're in front of. I've done it many times, even here in Kaslo, and I've just said, it's not about you that I'm worried about. It's about someone who's come into your store and you may not have known. So cover your PIN, first and foremost. Secondly, if you're using an ATM withdrawal machine, inspect the machine. Really take time to look at it and see, has there been even a false cover placed on top of it? Because this is what's known to happen too. A lot of these fraudsters, they are very, very intricate in the way they do this, and they'll put a little scanning device on top of the ATM machine itself. So as you scan your card, it passes through a little device that's no bigger than the top inch of my phone there. And so the bad guy comes and just takes the device out.
How would you know that it's there? How can you tell?
A lot of these things, when you really take a look at it and you look at the machine, you can tell it's part of the machine. But if you're just in and out of there quick and you're not thinking about it, you might be able to scan through. Most of them are quite evident. Not all of them, but at least I always check. Especially the standalone ATMs, okay? Really check and make sure. Is the machine and the cover a sound machine? So these are just sort of things with debit card fraud. Right now, your odds of having your debit card scanned in the Lower Mainland fraudulently are higher than getting into a motor vehicle accident in the Lower Mainland. Okay? So this is an issue that is coming to light, and really people need to be more aware of. In a place like Kaslo, people sometimes have the mentality like, well, we're a small village, we wouldn't have these types of things happen. Don't get into that mindset. These are the places where people are more complacent and these people can target us. And it doesn't matter whether you're going to a legitimate institution, all it takes is a bad guy to come in there late at night with a card and install something fraudulent. The bank may not know or anything. So let's all as a community really be vigilant, and then hopefully we don't have to deal with that sort of thing.